Mihai Csikszentmihalyi was a psychologist who first described this term flow. Some people call it being in the zone. Often it's described in sports, but this can happen in any aspect of life. And the terms he uses for defining flow are selflessness, effortlessness, timelessness. And when people report on experiences of being in flow, they say these are peak experiences in their lives. And I would suggest that we can actually find this continuum where we can move in the direction of flow at any time. Flow is about noticing when we're caught up and starting to let go and be with our experience, because that opens us to our experience. This also relates, and how can we tell this? You don't need I'll show you, but it's actually somebody in one of our studies actually started to get into flow as she described it in the scanner. So we got a picture of what her posterior cingulate was doing, and you could see it's pretty minimal posterior cingulate activity. The contraction that comes with anxiety, the contraction that comes with taking something personally, the contraction that comes with rumination, with perseveration, all this stuff about, me, that's anti-flow, right? Because we're a little ball of anxiety. Anytime we recognize that and we bring kindness and curiosity to that and start to open that, we're moving in the direction of flow. Doesn't matter how far down the flow we get, it's that we can be constantly opening to our experience. So we can learn to open to our experience. And I'll give a concrete example of this. When I would get panic attacks in residency, so I'd been meditating for a little while at that point, and had been doing a practice that it's called noting practice, and we'll introduce it either later today or tomorrow. It's pretty simple, where I would just note my experience. And so if it's a thought, I would note thinking. If it was a sensation, I would note feeling or the particular sensation. And so when I would have a panic attack, these happened in the middle of the night. A lot of people they wake up in the middle of the night with a panic attack. So I'd wake up and feel like I was going to die. I was like, oh, there's thoughts of dying. Short of breath, feel like I can't breathe. So I'd notice that, okay, feeling of shortness of breath. Heart was pounding, I'd notice heart pounding. So I'd just name all of those things to myself. Okay, heart pounding, sweating profusely, can't breathe, feeling of not being able to breathe, thoughts of dying. And I would, that noting, there's this phenomenon called the observer effect, or in psychology they call it the Hawthorne effect. By observing, you affect the results. So if this is a thought, typically we're identified with our thoughts. But if we can note our thoughts, that actually gives the space where we can see them as thoughts, and we are not our thoughts. So if this is me, this is my thought. By noting it, thinking that I'm going to die, I can see, oh, that's a thought. That's not me actually dying. And so they could come up, and instead of them taking me for a ride, I could note them. Note, body sensations, emotions, thoughts. So I'd have a panic attack, and then after it finished, it's hard to tell how long they last. They tend to feel like they last forever in the moment, and then you look at your watch and you're like, oh, that was 30 seconds. But afterwards, because I was trained to be a psychiatrist, I'd just go through the DSM checklist and be like, check. Oh, I just had a panic attack. I knew exactly what it was, and I knew that I learned, not the first time I had it, but I learned that I could actually use this noting practice to have a very unpleasant experience come and go. What we resist persists. What we allow ourselves to feel, or what we feel, we allow to heal. There are different ways of saying the second part. So I allowed myself to feel those sensations, to think those thoughts, and not get caught up in them, not take them personally. Importantly, not worry that I was going to have another panic attack. That's what leads to panic disorder. When you start worrying or avoiding situations related to having another panic attack. So, had plenty more panic attacks. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was, my lab, we like to do hill workouts in Providence together. And it was a hot day, and we run a pretty steep hill. And so I started to have a total panic at the top of the hill. at the top of one of our repeats, and it was about leaning into that. I'm like, wow, here it is. I write books about panic, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have panic attacks anymore. But I could lean into that, and just feels like I can't breathe, and it went away. What I do next? The next repeat. But the key there is not like, check me out. It's like, oh, we can learn to be with this in the moment, give ourselves a moment, and then not worry about it being a problem. Panic attacks aren't a problem. We make them a problem, and we can unmake that problem. We can let go.